money is the problem, because money is the playbook by which, no, excuse me, money is the controlling force by which the playbook of growth economics is wielded on the planet. And so I wanted to ask you that question. How do you conceive of money, and how I'm looking for a different take on money. How can money actually aid us in fixing the problems?
It's a huge question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I'll just say about the book that I co-authored called Your Money or Your Life. Um, it's really about, for me, it's about becoming conscious and aware of the role of money in your life, how money comes into and flows through your life and leaves your life, and making sure that every dollar you earn or spend or invest is in alignment with your values. It's really about money becomes a, it's like your breath, it becomes a meditative focal point. But
Mhm.
it's also a strategy. It's like a 9-step program. It's very precise. It gives people a set of tools for observation. We say in Your Money, Your Life that money is life energy. Basically, you spend a portion of your life getting the money in your wallet, if there is such a thing as a wallet anymore. And so, how you spend your money is how you spend your life. In the world we live in today, there's a portion of your life energy you're going to devote to the process of earning, spending, saving money. And you get to choose how big a portion of your life that is. And part of your steering wheel is the consciousness you apply to the flow of money and stuff through your life. The reason, it's a very beautiful teaching about um, personal sovereignty. It's a very beautiful teaching about conscious awareness and investing yourself in what's important. And I don't mean investing your money, investing yourself, your life energy. Once people realize that they're selling their time for money, they become naturally frugal. Now, what was captivating for me was that, because we had been teaching, my partner and I have been teaching this for many years, um, was that in 1989 I went to the first U.S. hearing on the Brundtland Commission report, Our Common Future. It's called the Globe Scope Pacific Assembly. It was in Los Angeles. We had been teaching the program in Your Money, Your Life for 10 years to help people liberate their time. And we knew, because we'd studied it, that by and large, when people became conscious in this particular way, not just like, oh, I'm conscious, but in a very specific conscious way, when they applied that, they by and large they lowered their consumption by 20 to 25% and were happier. So armed with that statistic and going to that conference and hearing from every person who spoke from the podium, the heads of environmental organizations, but primarily the commissioners who traveled the world with the World Commission on Environment and Development, they would say, fundamentally the biggest problem facing our world is the level and pattern of consumption in North America.
Mhm.
And then they would go, but nobody's going to get between an American and their right to consume. It's you. That's that's an insoluble problem. So I'm sitting in the back of that conference and realizing that my little team might be sitting on the solution to the biggest problem on the planet that nobody else thinks can be solved, which is, it was very simplistic and very heartful that we're in sort of 20% overshoot. So if we could get everybody to do this program, then we could live well within the means of the planet. I was like, it's published in September of 92. Within 7 weeks, it was a New York Times bestseller, stayed on the bestseller list for quite some time, was a Business Week, blah, 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 a royal history. And, on the basic theory that if you can get to enough people and have them moderate their consumption, if we could wake enough people up, this sort of like I don't know if you know the Everett Rogers curve, but it was like, okay, you get 20% of the people engaged in an idea and it's going to take off. It's going to be unstoppable. So we had a lot of notions that governed that period of time. And um, yeah, by the end of the decade, it was utterly clear that even though we had, by all calculations, reached half of the population in the United States through media and I did maybe 3 interviews a day, that we hadn't done squat for the larger issue. I got involved in like right after I had cancer and I moved where I am. So that's like 2006 or something, is when I got involved with relocalization.
Mm.
And I thought, well, maybe we can't solve the big thing because I mean, I did my best, but everybody else did their best. And
David, God,
whatever it was, it wasn't touching that thing that was destroying us. And so I thought, well, maybe, if we can't stop the mega crisis, we can prepare our communities to roll with the punches, to be more resilient, to be more, like food resilient, energy, economics, whatever it took, like interconnected. So I started working on that. I was one of the early adopters of the transition town
I was going to bring that
methodology.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were one of the first communities in the United States that did a relocalization project here on Whidbey Island. And I went on the US board for 3 years because I thought this is the most important thing I can imagine.
I had
Is
the
like,
same reaction.
so I was, once again, sort of a quixotic uh, big bite into a big apple, and what we could do in a short time frame on Whidbey Island was really so small that I didn't think it was going to make a big difference. Nonetheless, I will have to say that I've worked on food system integration on Whidbey Island for 10 years now. And we're inching along. We're nowhere near where we need to be. When I was working with transition towns, I learned from one of the farmers that basically we're 95% food insecure on a semi-rural island. That we have a 95% food import economy. So that's part of what got me to write my book, Blessing the Hands That Feed Us, which is about my effort to eat within a 10-mile radius of my home, to test my food system. And so all of that work, honestly, so here we are today. And so what I would say today, getting back to your question about what is money, I do believe that debt-based money and and how the financial system is constructed now. Debt-based money requires interest, which requires growth, which requires the drawdown of the of the capacity of the planet, and how the financial system is constructed, where you can have a pandemic where people are starving and getting kicked out of their houses, and the market is frothing at the mouth. All of that, those rules of that game are toxic. And then it's potentiated by, if we just had that game, that's one thing. It would be exploitative, it would be colonial, it would do all those other things. But then we discovered an energy source, which is fossil fuels. And honestly, I don't think we're gonna get off the debt-based money system or the fossil fuel system. There's no evidence that we're gonna get there. That's why deep adaptation was important.
Let me add one word. So I disagreed with your statement, except add one word: voluntarily. I don't think we're going to voluntarily.
Oh, right. Exactly. We're not going to choose to do it, right? But it is going to happen to us.
This game cannot go on forever.
No.
We have a very similar idea. For me, I mean, when I used to teach critical thinking, I'd say, or I taught a mathematics, statistics, and critical thinking at the college level. And in all three classes, I would eventually get into uh, talking about interest. And I'd say, why do they call it interest? Well, why on earth would a banker be interested in lending you money, except that they're going to get money for doing nothing, for going click, 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 click.
Right.
So that's their interest. Their interest is only in the
Oh,
interest.
right, right.
I don't care if if your business is helping the planet or hurting the planet. You know, you'll always be able to find somebody who'll lend you money for a toxic enterprise as long as you can pay their interest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Right.
to me, as I said, money, I call it the meme of money, capital M. So I distinguish between lowercase m, the stuff in your wallet, your pocket, and capital M, which is the body of custom knowledge law that's grown up about it. I mean, in a corporation, the CEO who elects to make a decision that will reduce shareholder profit, shareholder bottom line, can be put out of his job for that.
Totally.
If
Exactly.
if he's choosing for the planet, doesn't matter. If he's choosing to not dump waste into the stream behind the plant, hey, you know. So we have a system which is toxic. And
Hazel Henderson and I did a program together that we called the Golden Rule or the Golden Calf. You know, we talked about, you know, different bottom lines and right. And because basically I think also, I mean, one of the things that troubles me is I think we're so deep into the addiction that it requires us to be unconscious and amoral. It's sort of making our whole society. Well, I mean, the what we've seen on the streets, you know, in DC on the 6th, it was like this is amorality on steroids. It's like there is. I did an interview with Kathleen Dean Moore. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a moral philosopher and a novelist, and she in the interview quoted Jose Ortega Gasset, who was a Spanish philosopher, and he said basically morality is really um, basically the standards to which you can hold people accountable. Um, and for better or worse, we are accountable to the standards. So as morality isn't, you know, the level of accountability. Morality is the ability to reference standards to to check your behavior, and barbarism is the absence of standards to which people can be held accountable. For me, it was like this huge aha, is that we're losing the standards to which we can hold people accountable. We're losing the accountability to one another. That's the social glue. And I've been sort of pounding the table about this for about a couple of years, like feel like a prophetess, you know, with my hair on fire, you know, like you don't got get it, guys. We're gonna really miss the social glue if we lose it. And I think the 6th in DC was evidence of how far we've come. And I would hope that there is some revulsion, some final revulsion against how debased this society has become in service to money. You know, that because nobody, it's the emperor's new clothes, nobody can question that one and survive. I think that there's sort of like psychological social rules for sticking together, because sticking together is part of what a human needs to do to survive. You know, we're tribal groups. You know, we don't survive as individuals. We
right.
don't mate and then, you know, get the toddler out of diapers and then go off. We don't do that. We have to stick together as for hunting, gathering, etc. And also something I think almost like self-reflective consciousness, because we're aware of ourselves as living beings in time. We're aware that people before us have died and that, that's probably coming for us. Because we have that sensibility, that's a conscience. You can actually, through your awareness, see that your actions have consequences, and you can make choices about the kind of consequences you want. And so there's something about losing the social body that sort of makes humans into, like, we could be replaced by AI and they don't have to eat. So that would solve a lot of agricultural problems. You know what I mean? It's like there's something, I know. I know there's people for whom that would be like, oh, that's a smart thing to do. Let's get rid of the humans.
Mhm.
So I just feel that we've learned to violate something essential. And when somebody brings that up, there's a fear that they're going to impose their will on you. And so the door shuts. And part of it is, if you look like a loony, then you're going to lose your capacity to be in the, exploitation and profit game.
How do we reinstill a sense of morality, or even a sense that takes the tarnish off the notion that it's good to be a moral person? It's good to have that more. I mean, hey, show me the money, How do we get back there? How do we even move in that direction? Because you and I are sharing this with a whole bunch of people who'll watch it, will say, yeah, that's a tough one. What are they going to say?
Right. That's why I think a couple thoughts on that. Um, Number one, that's why I thought that, I'm not saying this with hope. I'm just saying it with pointing to a possibility that the revulsion that so many of us felt about what we saw, and the realization, and I hope gets like ground into us, that we were complicit with that.
Mm.
It's like, maybe I need to write a blog post, and influence 3 people about it. But I think it's a good question. Like, how did I aid and abet that? Because millions of small acts of compliance with social norms, because we're afraid.
Mm.
We're afraid of retribution. We're afraid of banishment. We're afraid of penury. We're afraid of starvation. We're afraid of so many things that we will turn a blind eye to the truth of what's going on. I think consumerism is actually a symptom of this systemic problem we started talking about, that there's a worldview, a lifeblood. There is it's like a collective problem. Individuals can extract themselves from the collective problem, but we're facing like something like, we used to talk about paradigm shifts. We're in that moment where it's like it's evident that the whole story we're living, there's a fallacy at the core of it. And to face that would be, it's unthinkable. It's literally unthinkable. Literally unthinkable.
That fallacy at the core, can you offer what that might be? And there are probably a lot of ways to explain
We
it.
talked about it. I mean, the fallacy is that, and it's located in debt-based money, I think. Um, and the history that I've been reading recently, the Bank of England made up this thing called debt-based money in order to be able to exploit, to have the money to send. Oh, we don't have the money to send the ships to exploit the new world. What are we going to do? Oh, we're just going to make it up. They just made it up. And we're going to borrow against the future to be able to spend now. So it's, and even further, if you want to say, I mean, we're in the middle of a civilizational box canyon, I would say, where the beautiful enlightenment is rotten at the core, individualism separating from, like putting us into a competitive relationship one with another, which of course now we have to be, because we can't survive without it. We're right at the end of a story of competition and escalation, exploitation, colonialization, that we're just in a story of we have to keep eating collectively, and so what if some people fall off the bottom? That's just what happens. Poverty will always be with us. We're in this collectively, we're stuck.
Mhm.
And it's like the emperor's new clothes. So I don't know if I answered your question. What I would say, it's a debt-based money system, potentiated by blindness. Um,
I have a
and it's
slight,
like it's infinite growth on a finite planet. There's so many ways to say it, but it's all about overconsumption, but as a shared lie. It's like everybody who couldn't see that the emperor has no clothes, they couldn't see it because to see it would have been banishment. The little kid didn't know any better.
the fallacy at the core is that stuff will make you happy. That things outside, it's almost Buddhist, things outside are transient. If they make you happy, well, then contained within that happiness is you're going to lose that
Right.
or get bored of it or wish you hadn't had it in the first place.
Because it's not about the stuff. It's about the hungry ghost nature of the collective dilemma. It's not like I could become more virtuous and that would make any difference. I wrote this blog post recently called "Mom, I Crashed the Planet."
Saw that. Clever.
And I quoted the Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's like we learned the incantation for multiplication, for increase. We learn the incantation for increase. We do not know the incantation for stopping that process. And, in the story, the sorcerer comes and stops the process. But I don't know who the sorcerer is on this one. With all due love, what part of me or you or anybody listening to this was complicit with the storming of the Capitol building on January 6th?
Good question to ask ourselves.
Yeah, and then if we discover our own agency in that, not with blame, but with, sort of like, okay, yeah, right. To really ask, what, if anything, can I do in my life related to that? Whether it's politically, whether it's in personal lifestyle choices, whether it's in activism, whether it's in going into a monastery, or it's giving all your money away, small gestures, grand gestures, but let that event be a reckoning, and then let your reckoning spread without spreading blame, but just let it be a reckoning. I don't know what else to say. It's not very helpful.
Introspection a bit on how we were complicit in what happened.
Totally.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not any fun anymore because I used to have all sorts of things. If everybody just ate local food, or if you had a little garden in the backyard, or it's like
We've tried them all.
No, and they're all important. They're all super important. And it's the starfish story. If I threw, like this starfish survived, that is super important. Like micro ethical actions done with great love and joy maybe all there is.
That starfish story may not be famous to everyone, so let me retell it about
Okay.
and I'll embellish it a little bit. The corporate CEO who's having his jog along the beach in the morning, and there was a strange tide the night before, and the beach is just littered with starfish that are dying. And he comes across a little girl who's picking them up one by one, running down to the ocean and throwing it in, and then going back for another. And he says to her, "Little girl, can't you see how you're wasting your time? There are just so many of them, and you're just not making any difference at all." And she looks at him, goes back and picks up another one, runs down to the ocean, throws it in, and says, "Made a difference for that one."